Why, hello there, fellow engineers. Rodamont here. Thank you for tuning in to Timberborn 1.0. Episode 7, Building Up the West Levee. The priority I'm going to continue working on at the top of the screen is to change the course of the river to really over-prepare for bad tides. Basically, to paint a picture for you guys. When a bad tide comes in, toxic water comes out of here, toxic water comes out of here, and I raise the floodgates and push it left. The bad tide comes left, I'll have these floodgates enabled and these walls enabled, so then the bad tide goes out this way and down this way. And that keeps bad water out of this section. The reason I'm doing that is this entire section, if I can build this here, will become non-toxic land and water, which is really important to note. I'll be able to start farming here or planting here or living here without consequence, etc., etc., etc. So that is the current priority that I'm working on right now. With my current science, I am going to unlock the observatory. The observatory allows you to get a lot more science from power wheels. Just making that choice now. So taking a look at this project, we need just a whole lot of logs and some planks to get this built. And then we'll be able to divert bad tide water away from the core of our town. All right. I don't think I'm ever gonna... I'm gonna get rid of these walls for now. I don't think they're important for me to keep at the moment. And I did notice that our medium warehouse is completely full of carrots. So I was going to do something a little strange, maybe, which is to put a carrot box maybe over here so that people that are like west of the river have access to some food when they're hungry. Eventually, we're going to get a hauling station, and the hauling station will allow us to easily move things around in a supply network. But until that happens, the plan is to just at least have like an overflow box here. Do I plan to do terraforming? Yes, the long-term plan. So if you're asking, I might as well like clue you in. Right now, the long-term plan is to build this bad tide diverting water away so that this stuff can go away. And this serves two purposes. One purpose is to move the bad tide water away from me. The other purpose is this water, once this is all built, will be able to hold a lot of fresh water in preparation for long droughts as well. So it serves both of those purposes. But once this is built, I plan on ramping up either... What I plan on doing is either ramping up the technology to get dirt excavation or ramping up the technology to get dynamite. I'm not 100% certain which I want next, but it's going to be one of those two things. Speaking of which, right now I'm going to build a builder's hut. So a builder's hut allows you to employ dedicated builders, and I'm going to make this construction site highest priority but lowest workplace. I want the builder's hut immediately. But then it's only going to be an overflow for the people that don't have other jobs. Okay, and let's also build the carrot box too. Now I'm starting to farm wheat, but I actually have no intention to really implement it just yet. I just have a stockpile of wheat. One of the advantages there is if I ever have like crop loss due to like bad tides that kill off our crops or food shortages or anything, I can start grinding up the wheat in a grist mill and baking it into bread or something else, you know, maple pastries, etc. So there's a chance that that is something that I do. That tree was wrong. It's a chestnut tree in the middle of maples. Oh, and here's a maple tree in the middle of chestnuts. Okay, I'll fix those two things. Okay, at the moment I don't know what my next event is going to be, but I'm ready for a drought, and I'm also ready for a bad tide, and I'm just getting it more ready. Basically, I'm just continually improving our setup so that we can last longer through droughts. Really, I would say, big picture, survival, what it looks like, is to make sure that long droughts are survived. That would be it. All right, so the builder's hut is up, and I'm going to furlough my researchers for now, just to get some builders in. So we're building the levee walls, and then we're going to build the floodgates, and that's going to help us out a lot, as I just mentioned. Another thing that I was considering is to increase our population, because we definitely have, I don't want to balloon it out, but we definitely have the means to take care of a few more beavers. I mentioned last stream that you really don't want to add a lot of capacity all of a sudden, because it will be really challenging to support your like ballooned out population, but just a little pop bump is fine. Also raise the river up to 0.95, so there'll be some brief flooding, but then it will sort itself back out. I'm going to do 0.95 up here, and then I'm also going to do 0.95 here. The reason to keep a sizable amount of water behind the floodgates is in the times of drought, I'll be able to release that water back into my main river and fill up the main river a little bit. So there's a brief moment of like weird flooding, but like eventually it will serve a nicer purpose. And getting flooding in the night is better than during the day when people are working. Okay, we have 3 days to prepare for a drought. It is not a bad tide. That's fine. That works for me. Given that it is a drought, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to research over builder's huts, as I no longer need to build this retaining wall as quickly as I mean, it wasn't mission critical to survive the bad tide, but I need it even less now that I know it's a drought. Do I plan on pumping the deep pond? Yes. So let's talk about the pumping. For me to get good pumps, the standard pump only can do a depth of 2. So what I could do is I could put a pump here and then design it as like a step well, where then I have a second pump 2 units down, which only can pump when the first 2 elevations are depleted. And I think that's reasonable to do for now, because the large pump can pump 4 down, but the large pump requires treated planks, and I don't have the infrastructure for treated planks. So if you're wondering about treated planks would require me to get a tapper shack to be able to get resin off the pine trees, and then to take that resin in the pine trees and process it in the wood workshop to take planks and resin to make treated planks. And that is what is required for the large water pump. And large water pump's 400, tap shack is 500, and wood workshop is 800. Yeah, I don't really have the means to spend that kind of research. Now, the reason I decided to go with the observatory is the observatory allows your few researchers to do a lot more work, but it also requires the tapper shack because it requires resin. So I really should have gotten the tapper shack first because there was a prerequisite of the observatory, but ultimately I need both kind of at the same time to make that work. So the next thing I buy is probably going to be the tap shack, more likely than not. Daros, thank you for the resub. Oh, and I missed a hydrate. Cheers. So we got 2.5 days until the drought. Okay, there's a gatherer flag here, which I am gonna... So the gatherer flag here was to collect chestnuts, but I'm gonna get rid of the gatherer flag because I don't intend to roast chestnuts for a while. I have, like, bigger projects to work on, so I'm furloughing them. And then on top of that, I'm going to fire this lumberjack here because their collection site is, like, full and has been full, and I don't think that they're going to be useful. And I'll put them instead as research. So up here, this is the retaining wall. And one thing that's going to happen is once we have bad tides, we'll probably have such a high flow of bad tide water that I'll also need to demolish with dynamite some of the dirt here to allow the bad tide to flow out. So this isn't going to be a perfect solution, in other words. What I might want to do to protect myself, given that this is an imperfect solution, is to plan some levees, backup levees. So if this overflows, it flows into this river rather than flows into this river. Flowing into this river is devastating. Flowing to this river is annoying. And I'll take annoying over devastating any day. And setting up, like, just levees like this is going to be enough to mitigate most of that potential. So this is like an insurance policy that eventually I'm going to have a better engineering solution for, but I'm not going to have the better engineering solution until I have dynamite, and I'm not going to have dynamite for long enough that I'll do a stopgap of levees. All right, another thing I could try to do is to maybe tomorrow night, I'll try to fill up the pond so the excess water can evaporate before the work gets shut down. I'll try to remember to do that. All right, and our research is cranking back up. Like it. So if we want the tap shack, we're also going to need gears, which I have the means to be able to produce, but I'm probably not going to jump to be producing gears right now because we're about to be in a drought without water wheel power. And then the observatory requires gears as well. So we're going to need a considerable amount of planks and gears to get both built. But I think with one observatory, that's going to be like enough research more. That's going to be enough research to handle like pretty much everything we need to do, which is great. If I built the levees on top too high, would this be obsolete? No. So if these levees up here were higher, this floodgate wouldn't work. It would massively increase the cost of this entire wall because this entire wall would have to go up a level. So to make this more flood-proof, I could either build, I'm going to say 100 levees or 12 levees. I'm going to build 12 levees. Ultimately, they do the same thing, but one costs 10 times more than the other. And 10 times more is 10 times more stupid. Alright, so here we go. Filling up the overflow pond in case we need to draft off of it for drinking water. And then I think in preparation for the next drought, I would like to move my... I'd like to move a water pump here. And get away from pumping the river. Because pumping the river means lowering our irrigation. Pumping this does not mean lowering our irrigation. It wouldn't be a terrible idea for me to also try to unlock the medium tank with gears and put our liquids in medium tanks. But for now, because I don't have that, I'm just going to spam small tanks because I do have the timber to do that. So I think this is my highest priority. So right now, we are building the west levee and setting up a pump. A water hole pump. Alright, looks like it's about to overflow, so let's drop the level again to 0.95. Yep, there. I think I cut it off just in time. Yeah, perfect. This is the perfect level. It's just above max capacity, but it didn't, like, kill my wheat or anything. Because flooding your crops, there is no rice that would, like, be fine with flooding. Flooding your crops also kills it. Your crops do not want to be flooded, so... just, yeah. Okay. I'm going to go so far as to say these old pumps are going to get literally broken down. And we're only going to pump from here now. Oh, I will need to designate all of this for water, though. All right, done. We are blowing through our wood, our logs, but I'm not that concerned. And here comes the drought. Why not a big barrel? I don't have the materials for a big barrel. So the medium tanks cost gears, which I do not have, and the large tanks cost metal and gears, which I do not have. I can't spend something I don't have. Alright, I am going to max out the level of all of the reservoirs. And we have a 12-day drought. That's a pretty significantly long drought. And not insignificant, for sure. Alright, so we're going to have building lacks power. And we'll have to employ someone to run on the wheel if we want planks. That's fine. And we have this giant pool of water to pull from. Technically, there's water up here, and then this water and this water, I can divert back into my main river when my main river gets low. So there's not... my crops should be fine during this drought, in other words. Pretty soon, the children that have been born will start to grow up, I suspect, because their well-being is rather high, so they're growing up a little bit faster, and once they become adults, we'll have them enter the workforce, and we'll be able to do gears and other things. I just don't have the manpower for that at the moment. Actually, you know what? I'm going to fire both these guys. I'm sitting on a lot of planks, so I don't really need someone running on the wheel and running the planks at the moment. I think that's not needed. I'd rather have the haulers and builders. So, West Levee. Still getting built. And I would say this wall is lower priority than the levee itself. The levee is more important because this wall does nothing if this levee isn't built. So I'm going to change the priorities for that stuff. And I guess I'll get another tree cutter down here because we surprisingly fell behind on our logs. I can also pull up the logs from the emptied out water tanks because I don't need water tanks here anymore. And to recoup the costs there. I think I'm going to reduce the amount of farmers I have from 6 to 4. Because I don't need as much crop. I mean, we're sitting on a horde of crop. And that's probably a good move as well. Okay, almost all the new water barrels are built. They were very log hungry, but once that's built, we'll go back to focusing on the West Levee. And I'll probably divert some attention away from the West Levee to start to push for Observatory. Okay, all those barrels are built. Nice. And if I need a second water pumper, I can always set one up. It's no problem. I don't intend to until I need it. Now, what I might want to do prior is set up like a ramp down here so that we could access the deeper water hole before I use up all the logs. Which means we would want... Ideally, I would want the lower water pump as close to these barrels as possible, but there's not like a good spot for that unless I build it on like stilts or something. So maybe I won't do that unless the water gets down to 2 out of 4 deep. I'm only going to make that adjustment if it looks like we'll need it during this drought. Which, given the duration of the drought, I doubt. I doubt the drought will be that bad. Alright, we're starting to have unemployed because the youngins are growing up. And I'll put them into useful positions like research. Now that we have almost enough for the tap shack, we can also consider setting up a tap shack here to tap the resin and the maple syrup. And for the resin, I'll need storage for that, and the maple syrup will need storage as well. So, something else to consider. I think I'm also going to queue a line here for demolition. And this is kind of an expensive project, but run a platform here so I can have a road that goes closer from the district center to the farming area so that we don't have to do this like roundabout all the way around. It will mean that they will have less wet fur because having wet fur is like a nice thing. But it will make the logistics of this section easier to deal with, which I think ultimately is a good idea. Alright, let's release this water down. And this water down. I think there's enough space in the lower sections to accommodate. So this is why I have the floodgates up here. I can add water to our river during times of drought, feeding it from upstream. In fact, let's go back up to 0.95. We might not. I don't think it's going to be a big issue. We're not going to lose all our water in the next 8 days. But you can see how that works, right? I released too much water because it overflowed. But essentially, we topped up our main river in the middle of a drought, which is pretty handy. That keeps the plants alive, and that's what these locks up here are for. And then the same can be done with this levee wall. Once I have dynamite, I could hypothetically connect this body of water to this body of water with like a dynamited road here, so that the massive amount of water here, which is a really high volume if you picture it, can be released periodically to resupply the river. Or alternatively, we could use something like a throttling valve to release a little bit at a time rather than a floodgate once we have the means to build a throttling valve so that we release enough of a trickle to compensate for evaporation. That's a really good way to do irrigation during long droughts. All right, I do have the means to make a tap shack now. So let's set a tap shack up here. And I'm going to build a small warehouse for resin and a small water tank for maple syrup. And this tap shack needs gears. So in order to get that done, I'm going to also need a gear workshop here. And I'll set up 2 warehouses here and here for gears. And these are not high priority. They're kind of lower priority, so I'm gonna set them up as low. We'll get around to them eventually, but obviously they're not going to do anything until I have flowing water because I don't want to have to run on the wheel as that much. So. So we're about, ooh, I'm going to say we've only used a quarter of a level or half of a level. I think the drought, I don't even think we're going to need another pump from the looks of it. Which is good. That works for me. Okay, the West Levee upper northern wall is nearly done. It's a lot of like long haul logistics, so this was the slowest part of the build. We have some unemployed, so I'm going to open up the builder's hut. We just had a bunch grow up. I failed to notice. But we're going to allow them to be builders, and that's going to help us to make quicker progress on the projects we've queued up. It's funny how little planks we've used so far. So in terms of plank usage, 15, 30, 34, 38... 46. All right. 46, 56. Okay, we have enough planks in storage for everything that I like immediately want built. So I don't really need to run the lumber mill until we have flowing water again. Doing a quick napkin math. So we're all set there. And we have a lot of building projects in the queue, so I'm happy to have more workforce working on it. So we have 4 builders haulers and 2 dedicated builders all working on projects now. Let's make sure to pick up this rubble before it decays away and get rid of the last of the small tanks because I really don't need them anymore. These tanks shouldn't have anything in them. So we have lots and lots of wood. In fact, I'm going to furlough this lumberjack, putting them in as like a builder or something. Because we are sitting a lot of logs. I'd rather have more builders. I'd rather be using them. I don't want to be hoarding logs. There's no need for that. So with the tap shack up, The next thing I'm saving up for research-wise is the wood workshop, which allows us for the deep. Actually, So let's say we really wanted to do dirt excavation. I need treated wood for that, gears, and metal. So, you know, the next thing I might want to work on is dirt excavator. The issue with the dirt excavator, thinking big picture here, is on harder mode, I can't rely on river power as much. So I think we might need to pivot and start to get wind power, because I don't think water power and hamster wheel power will scale very well. And to that end, it would be large turbine, which is paper. So maybe the next industry we do is the paper mill. And the paper mill requires logs, planks, and gears, which we have the means to unlock. And I think that's probably the best bet. And then pairing windmills, the large wind turbines, with gravity batteries will allow us to, because wind is not a constant, it will allow us to pick the gravity batteries up in times of excess and then lower it in times of need. I like that. And to be able to get all that research going quicker, the observatory is really going to be instrumental, I think. There's no geothermal on this map. That's a map-dependent condition, and this map has none. Alright, 4.5 more days, so we're about 2/3 of the way through the drought. Yeah, we're not going to run out of water here, and then our river won't dry up either. So this prolonged drought, it's definitely the longest drought we faced so far, was... I'm not going to say it was easy, but it wasn't hard. We got it, no problem. Good. Now the other question is the basic needs being met? Campfire and rooftop terrace, not as much as I would hope. So another thing that we could do, just to make people a little bit happier, is throw in another campfire and another rooftop terrace, just to be able to further satisfy our citizens. And I'll make this the highest priority. Keep them happy, keep them working. And we're nearly at the point where we're going to be working on the triple floodgates there. Nice. Oh! I just noticed they had actually cleared that path. Okay. Yeah, that's much, much nicer in terms of pathing logistics. The other advantage is if, let's actually move the small tank from here. So if I eventually, not right now, because I don't care, but eventually I put a gathering flag here, this gathering flag will cover most of those blueberries, and also all the chestnuts. Because of the bridge that I built here. So they'll be able to collect the things I would want to collect, which is exactly, well, it's ideal. Cool. I can see the builders clearing some of the trees I didn't want. Good. Oh, interesting that they're working on these stairs at low priority rather than this levee at normal priority. Oh, they're doing both. So this was supposed to be what, maple? And then once this one's cleared, it will be chestnut. It's not a big deal. I just thought it was weird that they, like, I misclicked once in 2 spots or something. I don't know. Alright, so well-being is going up a little bit. Now that we have more campfire and rooftop terrace, people are going to be a little happier. There is also aesthetics, which would be low-hanging fruit for happiness that I could also tackle. So I could do shrubs. One of the ways to do shrubs is to have it overlap your sleeping areas. So if I built like a shrub here, that covers 4 homes. I build another shrub like here and here. That covers most of the homes. And I can reach... Here, actually, let's move this shrub a little bit. Whoops. Yeah, okay, I had it selected. Oh, I guess that's fine. And I'll probably move these things around. They're not too expensive to, like, break down or whatever. In fact, put the ramp up there here. And this is just to eke out, like, the easy-to-get mood bonuses. I'm not probably going to bother with, like, lanterns and other things, roofs, etc. Until I have excess research, because there are bigger and better things I probably want to work towards. They're pretty low-hanging fruit, though. You know what? Hell with it. I'm going to do it. And the roof I'm going to have are going to be pretty silly. Cosmetic roof. There. They're cheap. We'll just do that for now. I know I'm missing a whole lot of the other stuff, but I just want to save up my research points. And I'm putting it all where they sleep, so they all get the benefit. Basically, it's like, had they gone past this thing recently, and if yes, they benefit from it. Oh, my uptime's not working? Weird. Hold on, let me check that. It should be. I don't see anything wrong with the command. Odd. Maybe the bot's down. No? Apparently it's not. I don't know. Its user level, according to my thing, is everyone. So nobody should be I don't know. It doesn't matter. How are we looking over here? Levee wall. So we are... Yeah, we're making progress. We're almost done with the main levee. And then we have this thing that keeps the bad water out upstream. Water levels seem fine. This drought seems fine. And then we just have to prepare for the next event, which is very likely a bad tide. I'm surprised we haven't had bad tides yet. I think on hard mode, your first bad tide can be as soon as like day 4. We haven't had one at like, or cycle 4 rather, and we haven't had one for the first 6 cycles, which is unusual maybe? I don't know. I don't know the percentages. And Yoshimitsu, thank you for the resub. Okay, we have even more unemployed people. Where can I put them? You know what? I'm gonna have them running on the wheel and working the lumber mill. That will work, because I'm pretty low on planks now. I must have built something else. What did I... Oh, I built all that stuff. Yeah, that cost a bunch of planks. Yeah, that makes sense. That's where it all went. And some of it went to this low priority gear workshop, but not a big deal. So we should see, at the end of today, a new... I'm surprised I didn't get a new high well-being. because most of them was around shrubs, lanterns, and roofs. It might be that they need a little bit more free time or just another day to acclimate. Oh, there it goes. And this is the final day of drought. I missed a roof for one house. Yeah, the center house. Just move it. That'll work. Okay, initially I'm going to have these floodgates set to 3. And that might change over time. Depending on what we're doing. So yeah, our watering hole worked out. It's going to need a refill. Let's immediately refill it. So I'm going to set the floodgate to 1 meter. So it refills. And there we go. I score 12. And shrubs, lanterns, roofs are basically at max. Campfire and terrace isn't max, but pretty close. I don't think it's the lack of visitors. I think it's a lack of free time that our beavers have. So it's not a means to build more. It's just like we need a little bit more free time, which I'm not going to afford right now. It's eking out every last ounce of well-being is ultimately not super worth it for me. I'm not trying to min-max it perfectly. But yeah, I mean, they have a well-being of like 13. It's not bad for this stage of the game. All right, let the water flow. So it's unfortunate. We almost had the floodgate, this floodgate built before the bad tide could come back. But obviously it's coming back, and we aren't going to be able to stop it until this floodgate's built. Once this floodgate is built, the bad tide water will go up to about this level and then start flowing out this way, rather than taking the northward path. And we have some temporary flooding. Oh, I need to lower this to 0.95. We have some temporary flooding as a result of the river filling back up. And I'm going to fire the water wheel worker and then put them as planks, because we really ran out of planks and lumber in that last drought period. And I'll just keep a close eye on the water hole pump zone, because once that fills up, I don't want it to like flood the entire map. That would be pretty damning. Can't help it. Thank you for tuning in to Timberborn 1.0, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rodamont.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rodamont.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Beavers.